So we've got a wonderful panel to close this afternoon. We're going to begin with Dr. Te Piere Warahi. Te Piere has a Bachelor of Property Administration and a first-class honours master's degree in property from what was then the Architecture, Property and Planning department through the University of Auckland. Needless to say, when he applied to do a PhD on caregiving through the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences, his words, the UIA dragged their feet for 9 months, making a decision to say, okay, come in, or no, go away. He waited very patiently and now stands here with two of the most prized consonants at academia before his name, the letters D and R. I know how good that feels. His research focused on the invisible voices of the carers and their experiences that would add to the scholarship of caregiving. The outcome was that care means love as opposed to care means burden. It's another perspective to the paradigm of carers as the abusers of their kaumātua care recipient. We've got Malia Hamani. Malia Hamani is a Tongan-born New Zealand citizen who has called Aotearoa home for nearly 5 decades. She's the CEO and founder of Toa Pacific Inc, an organisation that has been delivering older people's abuse and neglect responses and prevention service for 24 years. She also supports and is a co-investigator with Ageing Well Studies, Massey University and Auckland University on research on health issues impacting older Pacific people. Malia has received a number of awards in recognition of her contributions, including a QSM medal for her services for Pacific seniors and a Hauora Award recipient, Age Concern's inaugural award in 2022. She's also a Justice of the Peace. She has 5 adult sons and 11 grandchildren. And I actually just want to take a moment to acknowledge that Malia has suffered a really significant bereavement. Her nephew has passed away, and she has chosen to be here with us today with all of those things going on for her family and her whānau, and just really want to kind of acknowledge that the space that you sit within today, Malia, and the honour that it is that you join us, and I think the commitment to the kaupapa and the passion for your community that is so evident there. So I just want to acknowledge you and your family at this time. Finally, today we have Diane Turner. Diane has been the Director Office for Seniors, Te Tari Kaumātua, since October 2016. Diane and her team are based in the Ministry of Social Development in Wellington. Their job is to support the Minister for Seniors to advocate for the issues and interests of older people. This has included a focus on elder abuse, as well as leading the implementation of the National Strategy for our ageing population, Better Later Life, He Oranga Kaumātua. The Office for Seniors is the primary advisor to the government on the rights and issues of older people. So welcome to all of our wonderful final panellists to get the last say for the day. Kia ora. Te Piere.
E ngā iwi o ngā hau e whā, people from many nations, from the 4 corners where the 4 winds blow, tēnā koutou, greetings, kia ora mai tātou katoa. Ko tainui te waka Ngāti Mania poto te iwi, ko Ngāti Para te kawa te hapū, ko mōkau te awa, ko kahuera te maunga, ko napi te marae, ko rewi mania poto te tangata, ko te Piere warahi ahau. Hei! When I was approached to participate in this hui, 4 words stood out that overwhelmed me. Abuse of older people. I felt no synergy with the outcome of my research or experience regarding older people, but with the artful and intercessory skill of young Megan, I approached the topic from a positive rather than a negative lens suggested by the title. The images that you see are of my mother, and in the second photo, she's accompanied by her doting mokopuna or grandson. They were taken at my brother's wedding in Fiji in 2005, and they represent the antithesis of abuse. Mother was critical to my PhD research, which I undertook as a pensioner and graduated in May this year at the age of 73. Yay for grey power! I inherited Mum when my sister passed away and cared for her for well over 10 years. When Mother died, she left me with 2 legacies: a topic for my thesis, carers of elderly whānau, their invisible voices, and the time to undertake the project. Mum's photographs appear in my research in the conclusion under the section, A Tribute to Our Heroes, and represent the invisible images of my participants' kaumātua that I could not portray because of ethical protocols related to anonymity. The following citation from my thesis epitomizes the ethos of myself and my participants, and I quote, "These photos represent tikanga aroha and tikanga love that motivated carers to continually strive to take their kaumātua to the next level of health and well-being and to give them the best life possible," unquote. You can therefore appreciate my hesitation at accepting the invitation to come here, especially when I considered my participants in their kaumātua, and then a glance at my dear mother's whakaahua, and imagine abuse. No, not on my shift. Thank you very much. The outcome of my thesis after a little more than 4 years of study and the onset of COVID can be summed up in 3 simple but profound words. Care means love, which departed from the generic model related to care means burden. However, like everything in life, the scales are not always evenly balanced, and there were moments in my participants' corridor when a single isolated incident occurred that pushed the boundaries of care means love. For example, Ewa's dad was 6 foot high, paralyzed from the waist down after multiple strokes. He was feisty and aggressive. She was loading him using what I call a crane into the bed, and he went, boom! She got a shock and went, boom! Back to him. And then she realized what she'd done, burst into tears, went into the passageway, bawled her eyes out, could hear her father bawling his eyes out. She consoled herself, went back and gave him a hug and said, "I'm sorry, Dad." And he said, "I'm sorry too." And then, of course, care means love kicked right back in again. Te Upoko chuckles when recalling the doctor visiting her blind mother at home and listening in horror as her mother says, "Do you know, Doc, I don't get fed here at all. No, I do not get fed here at all. No food here whatsoever." Te Upoko just took a deep breath and said to me, "I wanted to smack her bottom." The doctor winked to let her know that he understood and sympathized. But it didn't matter, because at that moment she was momentarily sorely vexed. But despite all that, she confessed, "I loved my mum." Tekaraia admitted to nearly slapping his mum because he was angry. He immediately arranged for a whānau member to urgently come and look after her while he went away for the weekend. And he said to me, "It was a battle." The incident impacted him, and he repeatedly affirmed, "I'll do better. I know I'll do better. I will do better." Care means love is restored when he said, "Mum and I go walking, and I love her arm inside mine." On those rare occasions when an imbalance occurred in the positive energy of care, the key issue that was the dominant theme that added to the scholarship of care was the phrase alluded to earlier: care means love. And it was coined by my participant, Mariah, so it came straight out of the dense data. It became the foundation for my kaupapa Māori research. There were instances when observational abuse was recounted to me by participants, but the saddest revelation, which has always stuck in my mind, was the scenario of whānau withdrawing the pension, no food in the home, smoking pee, gang affiliations, but the most insidious of all were gang members arriving on pension day to collect money that was owed to them by these so-called whānau carers. As I look around, and yes, it's a rather young landscape, it invigorates me to pose a challenge to all of you youngsters. If you look at Mother's photo, can you see yourself replacing her with your image? In other words, who will look after you when it's time? That is an invisible voice. Why? Because it is not a contemporary narrative. Remember, there is an expression, a silver cloud is coming, and the consequence of that global phenomenon of an aging population will have an enormous impact on the future of Māori carer and aging in New Zealand. In 2021, the OECD included the repercussions of an aging population as part of major global trends requiring attention alongside COVID, climate change, and biodiversity laws. Morrow and Roger in 1999 stated, and I quote, "Grey pressure has ceased to be trivial, if ever it was so in terms of economic implications," unquote. The New Zealand Herald on the 23rd of August last month highlighted this very issue of not having enough money in the health budget for aging. My thesis is a compelling advocate as an educational teaching tool to achieve the vision of premium care using a cultural lens. If there is one message from that body of work that I would like to share with you, and that is the dedication on page 4. The title at the top simply reads, "Ma, in your face and up front," followed by a brief message spread over 3 lines. Sarah Te Pioioi Wallace, 1929 to 2017. My mum, the bestest friend ever in the universe. Priceless. So young ones, when it's time, who will care for you? And will your tribute be the same as that of my mother? Nō reira e te whānau, komutu taku kōrero, that's me done. Tēnā koutou, kia ora mai tātou katoa.
It is an honor to stand in before you all. And I am well aware that you are so conscious. I missed out on almost all of today. And that's my loss. But I'm pretty sure that each and every one of us are quite aware that nobody escapes being older each and every day. And each of us, maybe some of us are sure who is going to be our carer when we need care. I've experienced in the last 2 or 3 days grandchildren being sent to drive me around. And I'm thinking, but why? I cope very well. Meantime, I cough like crazy and nobody can hear what I say. So I didn't put on this voice specially for you today. I couldn't help it. It's been said that I sounded like a man on the phone. The bold writing there will change. I decided, because English is second language to me and a lot of others, I did search the meaning of aspiration because I wanted to double check because I come to this very academic, knowledgeable crowd and I need to know where am I going with this? Do I understand this right? And here we are. The United Principles for older person: independence, self-fulfillment, participation, care, and dignity. It has always been my understanding since I started working 24 years ago, that if these things were in place and it's all ticked, 3 things need to happen. And why do I say 3 things? Because it's too much to translate all of these 5 for how many ethnicities? I work with 8 different Pacific ethnicities. So I decided that if somebody's happy, tick, tick, tick. If somebody's safe, more ticks, same ticks. And if the older person is safe, then I don't have much work to do. So I have had a conclusion then, you know, I have the dancing there because that's a sign of happiness for me in my culture. And the dancer in red, she's a carer of her mum, same age as myself, but she's had a stroke. She's learning to talk, but that woman, young woman, is the only daughter, and she's an amazing carer. Well, I didn't realize I haven't pressed the button. So happy, healthy, and safe. I actually believe that it comes out of an older person being treasured, which means they are truly respected and loved. They will end up being happy, healthy, and safe. In the couple, you can see the woman is 90 and the husband is 94. And they wouldn't look like that because they are truly happy, healthy, and safe. They've got their family around them. They have got the care they need. And they are the most beautiful couple you would meet if you were. They allow me to use their picture. And I'm really very happy I'm able to. Did I have 2 of those? I'm just gonna put all of that up, and I'm not gonna talk to each of them. I'm just putting it up because if you celebrate them, how do we celebrate them? International Day for Older Person, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. I find the best excuse on earth to celebrate and have a party with the older people. They love partying. You know, I have no idea. When we come together, they seem like they're more energetic than me. And when they have their weekly program, Toa Pacific run 3 days, day programs. When the facilitated exercise happens, I'm huffing and puffing, so I pretend I'm busy because I can't compete with them. Away go the walker, and they do something they don't normally do because they're happy. They're in a different level, I suppose. It's like being high, maybe, and so on. But there are things that are happening at Toa Pacific, things like Toa Pacific being interpreters, because since COVID time, a WIN staff get to be located at Toa Pacific, an absolute plus, where older people don't have to front up at WIN's office and wait for a kind face or a kind word, because they usually don't get it. But at Toa Pacific, fronting up to this woman who is sitting there 3 days a week, they are courageous, they are confident, and know that they will be given the answer that's real, no attitude, no ego, anything added to it, and so on. Our older people are just needing a little bit of love and attention. Loneliness happens, and one with a cancer would not go to his appointment because he was too busy going to Toa Pacific's exercise. But he's terminally ill and was not about to go with the social worker from the hospital. He said, I'm going to Toa Pacific, I'm busy. So they pick up on it and ring Toa Pacific to take him for his appointment. And it worked. And I believe he's in care now. We don't need to chase him around. And the language, the colourfulness, and the care. The care conversation, I can't tell you how excited I am that we talk about it just before, from the most educated and eloquent speaker. Honest to goodness, older people care for others, for their loved one. 20% of carers are older people. And enough said about that, because family carers are talked about, but they don't seem to be important enough, and I will not be convinced they are important until there is an initiative that is resourced for them. Because in working in a space where there is abuse, a lot of times, maybe most of the times, from yourselves researchers, abusers or alleged abusers are known to them, or their carers, or people they love, or love them back, but love look awfully, awfully ugly. At that point, I will acknowledge what happened to me 24 years ago, because I was forever at age concern in Manatū. They were based in those days, in the 90s, mid-90s. I was forever at their office, getting their support to lobby with anything they'll look. I was fobbed off. I know what that looks like, feels like, because I was already convinced then that Pacific people, we love our older people, but it's a reality. It's a human thing. It's not an ethnic thing. It's not a whichever. It's not culture. It's just human. And I'm so convinced that Pacific people love their older people, but they look awfully, awfully ugly a lot of the times. So, the long story short, from 95 to 2000, we got lucky, we got a contract, and so on. From then on, what has been said was probably all of today, and recently in what I was privy to, it's real, it's true. But hey, we need to find the aspiration. I'll tell you a little thing about my journey with the definitions. And I look up, I even asked AI, give me some words that describes aspiration. And then I look up hauora. Hauora is also well-being. So that's why I only use aspiration for hauora, and so on. And what you've got there, singing, whatever makes them happy, need to be made available for them. Dancing, sharing, they like talking, they like being listened to. So just do any, or all of them. I've got happy faces. And that's the last slide I have. Again, I just want to stress that when they're happy, they're healthy and safe, it will tell you that their superannuation dollars went to themselves, about themselves. It was not taken by somebody else and forgotten that they have the EFTPOS card or need to come back empty. I'm very courageous if I get asked any question on radio. I said, what does our love look like for your older person? We know we love them. And we absolutely do have a good memory that they have given of their life for us and will die for us if they have to. But what do we give back? Thank you so much for listening. Mahalo.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Waikato tako awa, ko Mongatatari taka manga, no Potururu aho, and of course Diane Turner. So it falls on me to close out this small panel, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do at a high level in the office and leave you with some thoughts moving forward. So, as was said in the introduction, the Office for Seniors led the development of the national strategy for our ageing population. And the purpose of this strategy is to provide a context for making things better for all of us as we age. In developing this strategy, we had conversations with older people throughout New Zealand about what it means for them to lead a good later life. They told us that they wanted to be valued, connected, and fulfilled. For me, that is what it would look like to be a life without violence. The strategy includes a number of key principles, and I'm not going to read through them, they're up there on the screen. But basically, I think in today's conversation, we've all talked about a lot of these things, and I think it, for me, it kind of draws it all together. And the other principle that's not up there, but it's important, is that we all have a role to play. This is not a strategy for the government alone. We all play a life in older people, in our organisations, in our families, whānau, communities, and we can all do something to help older people live a better later life. So one of the things that we lead out of the office is the age-friendly Aotearoa New Zealand program. And this is a program developed by the World Health Organization, and it's been around since 2006, and the office started, dabbling in the idea of promoting age-friendly as an approach in 2014 or 15. Now we have half of our cities and councils who've signed up and indicated that they're progressing an age-friendly approach. So check up in your communities that you live in, how your council and community are getting on. For me, it provides a framework in which we can think about how we can live in our communities, and it also provides a framework for older people to find a voice, because so often they're not considered as we develop policies or initiatives in our own communities. And I think an age-friendly approach is about how we can empower older people to make change in their communities. There are really simple things that can be done that make a big difference in our communities. In terms of us, we provide tools, resources and support to help this happen, and a very small annual grants round, which is in the process of happening now. I was always surprised. I was a bit cynical at the start when one of my staff suggested that this would be a great idea, but it's amazing the difference that $5,000 to $15,000 can make in terms of something happening or not happening. And I think that really speaks to the power of communities, which a lot of what we've been talking about today. This work also contributes to combating ageism. Again, something that we've talked a lot about today, and I've got a slide on ageism because it's something that's central to our work, and it's kind of been taxing our minds about how to eat this elephant, because it's not a simple thing. I have ageist thoughts all the time, about myself or my family, and I know that we all do, as do our institutions and others that are working to support us. So it's a really big thing to address, and we know how long it took to get, feminism raging in our society, discussions around racist attitudes, and I mean, that's still really very much alive now as we speak. So I don't underestimate how challenging it's going to be to address this elephant, but I think it's at the core of a lot of the issues that we face, and particularly around elder abuse. So the World Health Organization, and they've done a wonderful report about it, so if you want to find out more about ageism, I would encourage you to read the global report. It also identifies three strategies that kind of stand the test in terms of combating ageism. And one of them is addressing policies and laws, and I'm sure that we could all find a particular policy or law that is somewhat ageist in attitude. The simple thing is that we don't actually have an age of retirement, but daily I hear people talking about the age of retirement. In our own ministry, we talk about a working age population, which is, I think, is it 16 or 18 to 64? But actually 50% of those who are over 65 are working. So, what's that about? Increasing education about ageism and its impact. So, I'm really thrilled that it's one of the things that we're talking about here, and we need to be talking about it everywhere. Similarly, intergenerational contact and actually working together across the generations is so important. And when you really think about it, actually young people experience very ageist attitudes. They're too young, they wouldn't know, etc., etc. So actually, we've got some aligned issues, us older people and those younger people, because actually we could get together and really sort of squeeze out the middle and make a difference in all of our lives. The middles that make the decisions, that is. In terms of other things that we're doing, we also, on our very insignificant budget, we're able to commission some research, and a couple of the notable ones is that just released the latest round of the business of ageing, and this we've been doing this work since 2011, every 2 or so years, and basically what it does is puts a value on the contribution of older people to society. So, I get tired of hearing about the cost of all the things associated with older people. So, in terms of paying New Zealand super, it's the cost of New Zealand super. Actually, we all pay tax on our super, and if we're continuing to work, we'll pay a little bit more tax. We're also out there spending money, so we're consumers. As well as that, we're caring, and caring and volunteering has a value. So this report puts a value on it. And if you look at the value against the cost of New Zealand super, you'll see that older people make a really remarkable contribution to society. I know that that won't always align with sort of thinking about caring from a cultural context, but sometimes you've got to fight with the tools that apply to the particular circumstances. We've also done a survey for the second time, and it was published probably 2 years, around the attitudes to ageing, and that's about things like ageism and looking across generations. And it's of some surprise to me. You would think that we're raging society, pitching generation against each other, but actually a lot of that's down to the media. It's not around the attitudes that people hold in their hearts. So, if you're interested in those sorts of things, I would encourage you to read those reports on our website. We also work to use appropriate strengths-based language and challenge stereotypes. What a battle that is, but I figure that every convert is a convert, and little ripples in the water creates change over time. And we've also partnered with other organisations, and it's ourselves, the Selwyn Foundation and Age Concern New Zealand have led the charge in terms of developing up a response to the UN Decade of Healthy Ageing. So if you didn't know it, check that out, because we're in the middle of the UN Decade of Healthy Ageing, and it's an opportunity for us to make a difference here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and across the world. And we're in the process of developing a media guide, which we will hope will lead the change in terms of language. So I'm probably fast running out of time, but I just want to sort of quickly talk about some of the other things that we've been doing. So we were very fortunate Te Puna Awanui kindly provided us with some funding to enable us to work with 5 regions across the country to help really raise awareness and for groups within the community to work on elder abuse issues. And Te Ahika, I think, were the first group that we signed up. And we've got, as you can see, 5 regions all doing slightly different activities, but the idea is that we can learn from those and hopefully in the future inform funding. We ourselves also, we've been doing annual campaigns on raising awareness and directing people to the helpline, and we're very grateful to be funded from MSD for that to happen. And it's really interesting, the data shows having an annual campaign around the World Elder Abuse Awareness Day actually spikes more calls to the helpline, which then gradually over the months peters out. So I think we are now able to show the value of a campaign. Money might be tight next year, but anyway, I'm always optimistic. And I really have to speak to MSD and Mark Henderson and his team who have really stepped up in this space. In 2016, when I started, we had an elder abuse neglect prevention service which changed into an elder abuse response service, which was a very unhappy time. But the $3 million has now morphed into $12 million a year, with services being provided, I think, in every region of the country, which was certainly not the case, with a greater diversity in the services being provided, which is still not adequate, but it's marked movement, with the prevention budget of just over $6 million, which has enabled this day to happen amongst many other things that are happening. A few years ago, I went to an elder abuse conference in Australia, and I thought, we'll never be able to hold one of those in New Zealand. Well, I see the diversity of the people here today. I know the communities that are operating, and it fills me with great hope for the future. So I'm getting the finger pointed at me right now. So I just wanted to end on a note. As I was preparing for this, I remembered that I had participated a couple of years ago around developing up some priorities for elder abuse for the decade of healthy ageing. And so this was an international piece of work run by WHO in Geneva, and through various mechanisms, they came up with 5 priorities. And I want to just end with those 5 priorities because I think we are doing 1, 2, and 3. And our work that we're doing in 1, 2, and 3 will lead to 4, because we do need to be looking to the future. And of course, the huge discussion point in the room today is the need for more money. We all know that, and we all know that it's not going to happen, this year or next year. But I think it just served to me as a reflection of how we were actually working together quite successfully in Aotearoa, New Zealand, to contribute to addressing elder abuse. And on that note, thank you.
So just want to thank you all for the opportunity to have those reflections and open the floor for you for your reflections from today, and if there's any questions in there for our panel, and then we will close our hui for the day. So kia ora everybody.
I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity that we got today. So much learning, so much of sharing. Thank you so much. There are two things I wanted to say. I wanted to ask Diane something. You know, we did, I heard some news, that there are some older people who work and they are getting more than 100,000 salary. So their superannuation is going to be cut. I don't know if that is true or not, but there were some discussions there. Because I felt that was ageism. You know, at one hand, we are telling them to work as long as they can. And superannuation is like a respect, giving it back to them for all the contributions they have done. So is it true or is it just a rumor?
It's just a rumour.
Oh, really? Because I did see some article on that, a printed article.
You want me to do an article on that? Yeah, well, I can do. Yeah, no, the only difference is that it's basically like the more money you earn, the more tax you'll pay. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Good to know that, because I thought that was real ageism. And the other thing today, I think we didn't talk much on prevention issues. I was going to touch on it, but I think, blame it on my jet lag, I completely lost it. Because prevention is such an important role in negating elder abuse, and not much attention was given to it for so many years. But after a lot of advocating, a little bit is happening now, but I think that is so important that everybody works more on intervention, so that prevention and educating the older people, empowering them so that they can make informed decisions which can reflect positively. So I think we need to have one more session just on prevention.
Kia ora. Thanks, Nalima.
I want to do a bit of reflection and a question. But first I just want to thank Charlotte and Megan for, wow, what an amazing job. Amazing. Not just in pulling together this event, but your energy and your insights and your just how you've held the space today. And all of the amazing speakers, some of the old peeps here, Sandra. I've really enjoyed this last session, and Piere, I've just recently moved my parents in with me in the 80s, and it's quite extraordinary. I never thought it would happen, and it's sometimes hard, but it's beautiful. So I really enjoyed your kōrero, but also because you held space for those who love their whānau, but for whatever reason transgress, and I think for me, that's one thing that's just been missing from our kōrero. Like, who are the people that harm? Why do they do it? And so my question for the panel is, do you have any insights to offer about how we might look at that gap and approach it with a kind of, from a position of love and support? What help do people need who are doing the harm?
As I alluded to earlier, carers need love too, because caring is love, but it's very tough, hard going. They need understanding, they need support themselves. So love needs to go right around. That's all I can say at this time, my love.
Kia ora. I loved your comment about me. I always do love comments about me. When I'm on a marae, I have to be humble. But here, I'll just go for it. But no, for me personally, I think the fact that I was the eldest in the whānau, and I mentioned this earlier on, that there's an expectation of you. And with that expectation comes this sense of power that I can do it all. And if I ask a member of the family, they might think, supposed to be the eldest, supposed to be able to, attack and achieve and motivate, and all the boxes are ticked, but that's not true. And to a certain degree, I did not ask for a lot of help. And as my wonderful friend here said, it is difficult. But if you have that passion for love, that really overcomes it all. It really does. But you need to seek help from your whānau if you can. And don't think that they might think lesser of you because of it. Sometimes they're just waiting to help. They're just waiting there, but you're not asking, And I think it's important to keep it in that community, because they knew my mum just as I knew mum. And so they can come with another perspective. And perhaps I should have done that a little bit more, but I didn't. But I've certainly learnt my lesson. And I would encourage you and anybody else who's contemplating that to reach out to your whānau, because in Māori culture, whānau is what it is all about. Despite the ups and downs and the tensions and the moments of disparity and the balance of the scales, it's all about whānau. And, you know, that's inbred.
No, we've had discussions like this, and I think, you know, the people that are committing abuse, it's for a myriad of reasons. Everything from abject poverty in their own space to an absolutely overbearing sense of entitlement and a whole range of issues around that, you know, those. So I don't think there's any one solution, but I think for me it's really about, a lot of it is about, you know, loving older people, but also they feel empowered themselves, because so often, you know, they've been disempowered in some way, shape or other. But, you know, if you're empowered, you're much more able to address the issues that you face, and that's when, you know, the family and whānau around you, instead of closing their eyes and ears, could be supporting and helping, you know, older people, because it's not everybody that's been a transgressor.
I just want to acknowledge wholeheartedly the work of Diane Turner and also MSD. I came to this university 25 years ago and we designed our surveys, and oh no, it was too hard basket, elder abuse, you don't ask about it. But now there's active research going on, there's active development towards you know, understanding it in all its guises, and it was lovely to see the prevalence survey investigators there. So I just want to acknowledge that and say well done. And now we're putting questions about safety and are you well and all of that in our surveys too. It's out. Good. Well done.
Kia ora, thank you.